This is Camilla and Clare Investigate.
And we're in record.
So this is a momentous moment, Camilla. This is the very beginning of the very beginning.
This is amazing.
Of our podcast. I mean, it's nice in the Studiobricks booth. It's peaceful. It's a good little escape, isn't it, from the crazy world out there that is the podcast show.
Yes, that's very noisy.
But now we're in here, and it is the beginning of Camilla and Clare Investigate podcast, Series 1 podcasting. We should probably do some work rather than just feel relaxed in this lovely little space.
That's a very, very good idea.
So what's the plan?
Do we have one?
So we're here at the podcast show to launch our podcast, but also to investigate what the heck podcasting is, because it's a big world, all these people, all these businesses. And I sort of have been feeling, I don't know about you, over the years that it's something I probably should be doing, but I just didn't know where to start.
Exactly. Where do you start? Who can tell us?
Well, hopefully we're going to find some people.
I hope so too.
Across this series, we're going to be speaking to lots of interesting people, the best of the best who are here today.
For sure.
All aspects of podcasting.
Our very first guest on the podcast is Nik Williams from Black Cat Music.
Right. Here we are. Okay, so this started with an idea at an event, and you said you were coming to the podcast show.
Yeah, I think drinks had been taken, and it seemed a good idea at the time, and it actually seems a better idea now. It's worked out really well.
Yeah, so here I am at the podcast show with Claire. We're investigating, and Nik Williams is here from Black Cat Music, and we're in the Studiobricks booth, or you call it
The sort of marketing term is a self-build isolation booth. Isolation is a bit misleading, if we're honest. It's more of an attenuating booth, and they all are, because complete isolation is virtually impossible.
So this is, as you can hear, is a fantastic atmosphere in this booth as well.
Let's just try this for a second. I'm going to open the door so you hear the sound difference. So we're in a very loud location in the Business Design Centre in Angel at the podcast show. So I'm going to open the door now.
Lots of people out there.
And door closed. So it's a very loud environment over there, and the booth is taking out most of the noise.
How did it all start? Because you didn't start off with building booths, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I have a history in the music industry myself. I worked for Yamaha for 10 years and Fender for 10 years before I did this. And Black Cat Acoustics, Music and Acoustics, has been around for about 40 years, supplying what we call musical furniture. So that's music stands, choral risers, things like that, posture chairs. And they have a history in acoustics stretching back when sort of self-build products like this weren't available, and people were looking for booths in conservatoires or rehearsal studios, things like that. So we used to source the walls from one place, the doors from one place, the windows from somewhere else, the ventilation from somewhere else, and bring it all together ourselves. So we already had a knowledge of how to build them. My boss Alice, when she saw these about 10, 11 years ago at the Frankfurt Music Messe, walked in and said, this is exactly what we were looking for. This is great.
Yeah. I would say, because this is audio and you can't see how lovely these booths are, they are a little bit like flat-packed furniture from a very famous Swedish brand, but hopefully...
It's very hard for a Norwegian to say that as well, isn't it?
But so much easier to assemble, from what I hear.
Yes, absolutely. So they're the only booth in the market. They're delivered in quite manageable sizes. 2 people can easily assemble, and they simply click together, and they have a patented system that makes those pieces hold together, and they don't require any gluing, sealants or screwing together, which makes them pretty unique in the market, because you can put them up very fast and you don't have to worry about any messy glues and mastics and sealants at the end. Equally, if you need to move them, you can just break them down. You have to move house or whatever, or you want to move them to a different room in your house, or you get a nice new office built in your garden, you want to put it in there, you can move them just as easy as you put them up. So they're pretty much unique in the market for that.
Oh, brilliant. And how long does it take? 2 people, you said, and how long?
Well, 2 people, me and a guy from the warehouse built this booth, which is our 2-person XXL booth. We built it in 2 hours, but we do have a lot of experience of building booths.
Is this personal record of...
The personal record of taking one down is 3 minutes.
Really?
3 minutes, yeah, taking one down, which is actually not a lot more different than putting them up, but they're very easy to put together. They're beautifully well designed, and yeah, 2 people could easily build a booth if you allowed yourself half a day or a day, just to take your time and get it right, make sure you follow the instructions, which are very detailed. Yeah, 2 people could easily build it, 2 strong people.
Are they quite heavy? Do they have to be on the ground floor?
They don't have to be on the ground floor, but yes, they are very heavy because sound reduction is completely dependent on mass density and a combination of weight plus separating the inside from the outside. But this particular booth, this 2-man booth, is about 600 kilos. In modern build apartments and flats and houses where the floor rafters are made from concrete or RSJs, steel basically, you're not going to have any problems. On older properties or converted houses into flats that have got wooden rafters, you need to check that there's supporting walls beneath where you're going to install the booth. Okay. We always recommend you actually hire a structural engineer who'll give you a report for probably less than a couple of £100, and if anything should go wrong, then that person is liable for the damage caused because he's a professional and have all the liability insurances. So we basically say don't take any chances. It's not worth it.
Good advice. Earlier you mentioned that this is all ecological or recyclable materials.
Yes, right? Basically we're trying to work towards 100% recycled materials and recyclable. So the walls are made of what they call NAF MDF, which is no added formaldehyde, which is quite important if you're going to be in the booth for a long time. You don't want to be breathing in formaldehyde. MDF is inherently recycled because it's just made of pulp wood, so it's basically 100% recycled. We use recycled fabric in between the 2 MDF walls, which is mostly actually recycled denim, because that seems to be what gets thrown in recycling bins most.
Yeah.
The absorbers on the internal structure are made from recycled plastic bottles.
Yeah.
Is one of the first in the market, and we make them ourselves, so they're completely unique to us. And we only use water-based paints and adhesives. So we're pretty much working towards 100% recycled material that we know that we use in the factory. The doors come from another supplier, and he promises that they are mostly recycled, but we can't make any claims against that. But the stuff that's made in our own factory, we're working towards 100% recycled and recyclable as well.
That's brilliant. So that's fantastic for the environment, and it is a fantastic environment in these booths.
Yes, I think so. It's a really nice place to be, and I think that's important. If this is one of your main tools for your job, if it is your profession, you want to be in somewhere that you want to spend time in. You don't want to be getting up in the morning and think, I've got to spend another day in that horrible darkened hole under the stairs. Most people that buy one say it's the best thing I ever did, because it's just made me so happier about working in the studio. So.
Yeah. And here we are with so many people with the same interests, and that's podcasts.
It's quite a new market for me. We did this show last year, which is the first year, but hadn't really had any experience with podcasts before. Did a podcast with some friends years ago. It was just for fun. So I'm very impressed about the level of professionalism that some of these podcast people are taking now. They're really starting to take their production of their material very seriously.
Yeah. And where can our listeners go to find these fantastic bits and see images and contact you and get some more advice?
Well, the Studiobricks website is lovely. They're constantly updating it, so that's literally studiobricks.com. Our Black Cat's site in the UK is acousticabins.com. Basically, if you Google soundproof booths, will come up pretty high in Google. Or you can email me at sales@blackcatmusic.com, and that will come through to the whole team, but they'll know it's for me because I'm the Studiobricks guy. So.
Yes. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. You've been hosting the Camilla and Clare Investigate podcast all day.
Yeah, so it's been my pleasure, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for all your efforts.
Oh, let's go out in the noise again, shall we?
Yeah, why not?
Thank you very much, Nick.
Podcasting. Coming up in the next show, we talk to Jacob Anderson from Alitu.
I think audio in particular is very liberating in that way, because you can just do whatever you want. Ask yourself a question. Do you want to talk about this relentlessly for 3 years? Or are you going to end up hating it? People had asked us so many times, how do I simplify the editing? Because this is the thing that's really holding me back. So they don't want to become editors, they just want to create content. You could edit an episode in like 15 minutes instead of a few hours.
To make sure you get hold of the latest Camilla and Clare Investigate, subscribe on your favourite podcast app. Thanks!